Ja, bedankt. Ja. Un caio de aposentar-se, no calhou-se, que é aposentar-se.
Dr. John.
These panels organized by John, Mercy, by Abigail, Mr. Winkoski, and Dr. Aziz from Federal of Health Services, Download, and also by Scholar Oluwa Olatunbo Akoli from Bangladesh, science and great having four presentation. So the fourth presenter according to the RPIO, the material preservation, the grade between the past and the future in Africa by Esther and Abiola Abioye of the University of Ibadan. The second presentation will be on bridging knowledge that critical review of data privacy education to need African information service students. That will be presented by part of Dr. John Oluwaseyi and Adebayo of British University and also by Martin Boston, accompanied by from Oluwaseyi University of Education Science and Technology. And the third presentation will be on from play to artificial intelligence, opportunities for agri and informational professionals in Africa. And that will be done by Scholar Raphael of the University of South Carolina. And also finally the presentation will be on the international archives and historical preservation aspects of humanities scholars. That will be done by Scholar Willis, and also represented by Dr. Oluwale Ogunde, University of Ibadan. So now we identify three of our presenters. So all the presenters are in available. So let's start from the first presenter. The presentation is on printing material preservation, a bridge between the past and future in Africa. These presenters have written apology for their unavoidable offense for the two actors in the Sagamore is representing like that. So this is maintaining while we will have a question of answer in our four presenters. So please let's be looking at questions as we proceed. So please our call on Madam, if this presentation is better for the presentation.
Department and Abiola of the Department of Academy Studies. And the center for preservation in the past and what are heritage differences where materials from materials. So they are very and hospitals and past and then we have libraries stuff. We need cheapers for it and the preservers Access by the president and so that varies on. So, while that's a every stage from our scale of very important, so I saw very feet, then said, also for continue and so that this has first easily accessible. However, there are obstacles that hinder the present of this heritage materials, and that is the publication of the materials limited on time. So the research that focused on materials are injected and important competence, especially in aspects in how to make so we have to solve it, what is actually state of heritage materials and this heritage system in the country. They have this five objectives that's drastic. So the first is to find out the types of heritage materials. Heritage. That's big. Started the state of materials that's essential salvation funds and the heritage. Great. And the salvation measures includes last week, five challenges of heritage for this heritage and we have quantitative research that are adopted for this study and research observation of this from the data and the population of studies a national American institute as well as an academic library. It's not data analysis, it's market analysis of the data. These are used and documents weekly. Then what are discussed results of the and the types of heritage materials available. And because of colonial activities, colonial periods, diverse subjects, and these are newspapers. They also come from the private papers, just about the maps, class, in these heritages. What are the other states of these heritages? One, according to the study, you have to take a heritage and the materials on the site are made available. We have a cycling. So I don't have the pieces. I want to use it for testing. According to the heritage materials like plastics are very good. And the single heritage materials are very stable states. And yes, in terms of preservation policy, study hard advice of those actions of increasing preservation policy in this heritage. But what are the measures based on preservation policy? According to we are culturally protected. So the first of our heritage is okay.
Power on. As Bluetooth waiting for connection. Bluetooth connection succeeded. Bluetooth.
The normal cleaning as a tool for their preservation. So heritage institution basically use cleaning as one of their preservation measure, and also they monitor the temperature and the relative humidity of the storage area of the repository. Also, the records stored, they are stored in acid-free boxes. The boxes they use in storing these heritage materials are acid-free. As we know, acid it's one of the major causes of deterioration of materials. So in the heritage institution, I found out that they use boxes and the boxes are acid free. Then the second thing is that they make use of steel shelves, which is actually the right specification for the storage of heritage material, because the wooden shelves actually they are part of, they contribute to deterioration of heritage material. And lastly, what they found out that digitization of this heritage materials are one of the measures they use in preserving these materials. Yes, there are challenges in the studies, and what they found out that some of the challenges that these heritage institutions are encountering in the preservation of their resources. Majorly, one is a poor funding. Then they have the absence of a written preservation policy, which is a major setback. The lack of relevant modern preservation equipment. They have shortage of personnel with expertise in preservation and conservation. I think that is a major setback, because as at the time I did my undergraduate, I think we were told that the professional conservator then has retired. So in Nigeria, basically, we do not have a professional conservator. And it's actually an expensive cost to train a conservator in that area. So there is none at all in these heritage institutions in Nigeria. Then we have the absence of motivation for the existing personnel. Conclusion and recommendation. Despite the importance and the need for the preservation of cultural heritage materials, I beg you, documentary in the heritage institutions, studies is a perilous. It has found out that the heritage materials are in a very perilous state. Their states are very appalling. So unless urgent measure is done to preserve these materials, I think our heritage materials, they in few years from now, we might not even be able to salvage them. So the researchers were able to come up with some recommendations, which include heritage preservation programs should be adequately funded by the government and bodies connected with its preservation. Also, there should be a comprehensive written preservation policy at the sectorial and national level. Like as I tell my students in the classroom, that whatever you do as an organization, as an institution, you need a policy, a written policy that should back up whatever you do. So as such, preservation, heritage and preservation program, the policy is very, very important. Also, the employment of staff with expertise in preservation and conservation of documentary heritage is very important. And there are experts in archival studies, in preservation. So we should there should be a form of employing the right staff in the right hole. There's the right peg in the right hole. But what we see in the current state is that the people that are not supposed to be employed, they are employed as such. The ones that are qualified, they lack this job. So the people that are involved in the employment process should ensure that the expertise in preservation and conservation of documentary heritage should be employed to take care of these heritage materials, which will go a long way in salvaging them. Also, there should be provision of relevant preservation and conservation equipment and materials. Then staff motivation to cultivate interest in documentary heritage preservation. Some people find this work as boring, but as a professional in the job, it is interesting. It is when you don't really know what it is that you find it boring. So as such, the staff needs more motivation. The motivation can be in different ways, in training, in exposure, and also there are so many opportunities of motivation that the staff in that particular heritage institutions can actually be motivated with. And lastly, government should give recognition to these heritage institutions in order to boost what they are doing. So I would say a very big thank you to the researchers once again, Jato and Abioye. They weren't able to be here physically because of their individuals' official assignments. Hence, I stood in for them. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Eze Eunice, for that wonderful presentation. She is a scholar in the field of archives and preservation management, and that's actually displayed in her presentation. So she successfully made a presentation on heritage material preservation, a bridge between the past and the future in Africa. So let's try as much as possible to note our question as we call on the next presenter in person of scholar John Oluwaseyi Adebayo, and also from Wincoasting University, co-presented by Olatubosun Akole from Bamidele Olumilua University of Education, Science and Technology. He will be presenting Bridging Knowledge Gap, critical review of data privacy education in Africa information science programs. So, Mr. John.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Aziz. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, very well.
Okay, I just sent a request so that I will be allowed to share my screen.
It's been granted.
I do not. Oh, thank you. Okay. Can you see my screen now, sir?
Yes. I can see your, yeah.
Is that what?
I can see your screen.
Please, go ahead.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So thank you very much, the chair of the session. So I am presenting on behalf of myself, my co-researcher from Bamidele Olumilua University of Education, Science and Technology. And this study focuses on investigating the state of data privacy education in African information science programs. So globally now, digital economy keeps expanding. And as such, data privacy has actually become a cornerstone for modern governance, human rights, and digital transformation. And in Africa specifically, the digital ecosystem is increasing and becoming more great. And integrating governance, education, and commerce and health. These are key areas where the of the need to strengthen data governance mechanism. This is because one of the critical aspects of this effort is building capacity through education by specially integrating a comprehensive data privacy training into information science programs in Africa universities, such as we have in other disciplines. So a subject of data protection for proper handling, because in the arena of digital ecosystem, data is very, very critical to everything. And that's why the AI, the digital platforms, the technologies, whether in any sector of human endeavor, data is critical to integrating and updating and developing those technologies. And previous studies have established that one of the key areas where data is targeted or collected is from PII, personally identifiable information. And because of this, Bigelow 2024 notes that data privacy comprised of 6 major elements, which are legal frameworks, privacy policies, privacy practices, third-party elements that come with that. Because in this current dispensation, globally, data is very, very key to human development and sustainable development. Now, what do we mean by data privacy? According to Alafa 2022, then I will read that. It described data privacy, also known regarded as information privacy, as the entity element that represents the fundamental principles and rights that individuals possess over their personal data and the modalities of its collection, use, and dissemination by various organizations. Now, despite that description, an argument by scholars in the past that data privacy, that data in itself is gotten from PII alone, one of the extensions that this study makes is to argue and also establish that data is not only gotten from PII. Data can also be obtained from, by organizations, institutions from data. Because of that, information science programs are so significant in training professionals who are designing, managing, and regulating the digital infrastructures and information systems that process those data. And this is a very big one, because in the digital area, privacy is a big thing. And that's when we talk about responsible AI, which is a big discourse globally today. So information science that train and prepare information professionals, especially from our own continent, cannot and should not be behind in this journey of digital transformation. But despite that, a growing scholarship and scholarly work suggests that data privacy is underrepresented in LIS, for instance, across African continent. And that's according to Mutula 2013 initially discovered that include privacy knowledge is essential for sustainable development. And this align with what Gomez 2020 found, that Africa's data protection readiness is uneven across our regions and institutions. This question not only limits the professional preparedness of information science graduates, but also hampers national and regional efforts to implement and enforce data protection frameworks, which we have different global framework already. Now, therefore, this study attempts to create the depth and pedagogical approaches to teaching data privacy across various institutions in alignment with international privacy frameworks. Now, the statement of problem is part of what I had established, In Africa, we are experiencing major, digital transformation, and many continents are still developing. Many countries on the continent, is it that they are just developing their data privacy, data protection legislation or act or law, or some have not even started. For instance, Nigeria, the Data Protection Act was enacted in 2023, and it is to replace the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation of 2019. And there is a commission that is vested with the responsibility of data protection in Nigeria. Now, we now begin to wonder what happens to our data until then. We know how much data banks take from us. We know how much information we receive from them. We know how much we receive unsolicited messages from people we never shared our personal data with. These are part of issues in data protection. And amidst all these various fluxes around data protection, academic programs like LIS are critical in nurturing data literate citizens and professionals. Some elements like information ethics in particular, but these programs and these concepts, they lack philosophical, technical, legal, and society dimensions of data privacy. Now, this knowledge gap not only hinders the digital empowerment for students, LIS students and graduates, but also undermine the continent's capacity to produce professionals that are capable of protecting personal data in both the public and private sectors. And the last thing on the problem is that the gap in knowledge that has been established will also affect expertise in global privacy framework discourse, such as the GDPR, the FIPPs, the CI, the HIPAA, and especially the African Union Convention on Cybersecurity and Personal Data Protection, which is also known as Malabo Convention. And so the objective of this study is to conduct a critical review of data privacy integrated into information science programs in African universities, and specifically to assess the extent to which data privacy is currently teaching the recommend practical strategies for integrating some framework and globally aligned data privacy education into African information science programs, explore the perception of the faculty members in delivering data privacy education, and benchmark the existing global standards, such as GDPR, FIPPs, that are being employed and used in other continents. So we have 5 research questions. I will skip that. Then for the methodology, this is an ongoing study. It's an ongoing study. So what I am sharing on behalf of my collaborator is just to share the preliminary findings. So the study adopted a qualitative exploratory research design to establish a distinctive understanding of how data privacy is being taught across African universities. And the methodology will be conducted, the study will be conducted in 4 interrelated phases. Phase 1 is to do curriculum content analysis, and the inclusion of universities will be based on the rating of universities in Africa according to 2025 Times Higher Education World University Ranking. So from that university, will be now the data that we're going to collect from West, East, and Central Africa will be collected from publicly accessible curriculum documents and courses and the course catalog on departmental website. So this is another way of investigating the digital footprint of LIS programs in Africa. So we're going to select, from the selection, we collect data from using the available curriculums or course catalogs on departmental websites of those universities. Then after that, a stakeholder interview will be conducted for faculty members who teach information science programs in those universities. 15 of them will be selected. Then for phase 3, a comparative analysis will be done. And the essence of that is to compare the current curricula against other recognized global data privacy education networks in the European Union, who uses GDPR and FIPPs and CI in the United States, and also our own African Union Convention, cybersecurity and personal data protection. So the justification for the methodology and the samples and everything is the last point on this slide. Now, this is our preliminary findings based on the first country that we have done, which is Nigeria. So we found that there were no publicly accessible curriculum documents and course catalogs on the departmental website for 90% of LIS schools in Nigeria that we have analyzed thus far. And it's really, really shocking. So second, we found that the only university in Nigeria thus far that fall within the selected universities that offer LIS programs in Nigeria is the University of Port Harcourt. So to see courses they offer especially for undergraduates, each year, the course description and everything. That's the only university thus far. As information professionals, we also found that in some universities, the information on the departmental websites, they are not up to date. Now, the findings number 3 is that most LIS programs, that's over 95% of what we have done thus far, do not have a standalone course on data privacy in their schools. The schools that teach information ethics do not include data privacy in the course description. Also, we discovered that the digital visibility of most LIS programs that we have analyzed thus far are very low based on the available information on their website. And because we have friends and mentors in those universities, we know that those universities are doing more than what we found on their university website. And by implication, LIS curriculum from the selected schools need urgent review to reflect current global trends where commodification of collected data on different platforms is used for competitive advantage. Then another implication of the preliminary findings is that there is low awareness on leading global privacy frameworks that can empower critical stakeholders like LIS scholars, LMCN, National Library of Nigeria, collaborate to develop a Pan-African data privacy curriculum framework based on the leading global privacy framework, because it will empower LIS graduates in Africa to fit in any data management or data related task. Then the second one is for LIS schools in Africa to strengthen partnership with global privacy institutions to ease cross-institutional curriculum comparative analysis, which is very, very essential. The leadership and management of LIS schools should also support continuous professional development for LIS scholars. In conclusion, bridging knowledge gap in data privacy is crucial for Africa's digital future. This is because information science programs need to evolve to include robust privacy education. And we can only do that if there is collaboration, policy alignment, and curriculum reform. And the reason is that the time to act is now. Thank you so much all for listening.
Presentation. However, you spend extra 2 minutes but nevertheless, maybe we'll deduct that from the answering
I'm sorry,
of your
sir.
question. Yeah. So thank you for the detailed presentation. So the next presenter is already online, and he will be presenting on the from clay tablet to artificial intelligence, opportunity for library and information professional in Africa. So Scholar Raphael Ibifong from the University of South Carolina, please, you have the floor now.
Permission to share my screen. Need the activity. Dr. You shared.
I am so sorry.
Scholar John, please kindly unshare yours so that the permission can be given to Mr. Raphael. Stop sharing your slides.
Yes, I'm trying. Dr. Raphael?
Record.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So my topic, from clay tablets to artificial intelligence, opportunities for library and information science professionals in Africa. I'm happy to be talking on this all-important topic because now the background of my study is based on the fact that we are library and information science professionals, and by virtue of that, we have so much information about the history of libraries. We are aware that library and library evolution as a profession has evolved through different eras, from the era of clay tablets, that is the era of ancient development of libraries, to the medieval age, and down to the modern era of library development, where we talk about the launch of printing press. Fast forward to this time that the whole emphasis have shifted to artificial intelligence. And the one that really is very special to us and very relevant to our field is about the generative AI technologies. That is the generative AI type of AI tools that allows text to be generated, that allows images to be generated and shared to different types of users. And this is very important to us. And there's something that's very unique about all the eras of librarianship. And the era is about each of these era has presented different opportunities to library and information science professionals for them to be able to do major things, which is providing information services to organizations and also facilitating access and satisfaction of various information needs. This is very special. And again, a very important question that this my conceptual review of literature, which is this paper is about to do, is to also highlight the opportunities that are available for us as information professionals at this particular time, that emphasis have shifted from just technologies to artificial intelligence technologies, because as professionals, we have that responsibility, we have that duty to ensure that the potential benefits of all these AI tools, as far as knowledge sharing, as far as knowledge access is concerned, becomes responsibly accessible to every user, either as librarians or researchers in the fields of library and information science. So the problem statement about my study is that there is still a lack of adequate representation of African voices, African professionals in the AI globally. And this is very also critical because without our voices, without us identifying the niches that are available for us to specialize in, we will not be able to effectively, make the impact or also offer our contributions. It's because of that this paper examines the opportunities for a possible impact that the library information science professionals in Africa can do to be able to be heard in the global community. This paper highlights few of the areas that are available. We have a lot of them, but we are focusing on the 6 of them areas that I know that if we consider this as library and information science professionals from Africa, we'll be able to ensure that we make our contributions. We also make our field very relevant beyond Africa. The first on the list here is general genetic awareness, genetic AI awareness, and prompt engineering workshops. Everyone is talking about prompt engineering. It's not every library user, it's not every student, it's not every information seeker who know how to effectively leverage what prompt engineering is all about. So it's imperative on us to be able to, based on our proficiency in terms of research, based our proficiency in terms of providing information services, to constantly bring about ideas how people effectively search for information. And I say here comparative searching. I have a critical example that I did because as library information professionals, I have to test different tools to be able to know their efficiency and the essence of it, to be able to recommend this to my patrons as a librarian, and also as somebody who conducts research in this field. So if that happens, it is imperative we have that responsibility to. Sorry about that. Sorry about that interruption. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Yes, sorry about that breaking. Is my screen still showing?
Yes.
Yes. It's showing.
Mr. Raphael, can't you kindly speak on? We can hear you and we can view your screen.
Okay. So one critical area that I know that's going to be very useful to us is that area where we need to compare. I personally introduce to a comparative searching where I had to combine different. I use Gemini to search for information. I came up with 5 numbers, and what I did with the 5 numbers is to ask these generative AI technologies, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Copilot, to help me with information on the mean score of all the 5 numbers. And now once I got the number, I noticed that the mean score of all the numbers that I had, the 5 numbers that I had, the mean scores were correct across the 3 platforms. But the standard deviation of those numbers were not correct in all those platforms. These are the information that the librarians have to understand, that these devices can fail. That's why it is very important that we do the second one, as we highlighted. This is responsible use of these technologies. Why this responsible use of this technology is very critical is because without this knowledge, there is tendency for people who use this information to rely solely on that, and that will definitely result on something that we know is not going to be useful to us as professionals. There's another critical area too that is also very essential, and that is educating the educators on information effective pedagogy. Now, what is very difficult for professors, instructors to do is to ensure effective assessment, because the emphasis has now been that students can simply go online and then formulate a search term and then come out with contents and submit it as the assignment. So there is need for instructors, librarians to take this as an opportunity to encourage professors. The best way for them to grade, assess students is specifically about assignment. You have to encourage collaboration. You need to encourage instructors that they need to do that is for them to always ask their students to come up with references that they consulted. And if they consult the references, students will be able, within 5 and 10 minutes of the class, make a decision about or give us information. How did they go about choosing the references? Which of the reference materials are the most useful, or can we say is the seed reference material that they consulted? With this, it will give that student that consciousness of not just going online, using Copilot and generate content and submit it as their own. That is another critical area of niche area that librarians can take advantage of and advise the educators on the best assessment strategy to adopt now. Then another critical area too is the issue of biases and discrimination. Last year, I read a paper that gave an example where a prompt was asked on ChatGPT about if we have 3 white males and 3 black males in a room, which of them should be a leader in that room. And the bias simply the ChatGPT, because it is white, simply suggested that it should be a white. All right. But recently I checked that has been corrected. It means that so much research and so much criticism of the biases of AI, generative AI technologies are being heard. This is also a responsibility. Keep on testing these tools to know which of them is biased and probably make recommendations through research, make recommendations through our work as professionals for this to be guided in the future updates of these technologies. And the last one that is also another critical area is the privacy that Dr. John has mentioned. Privacy is a very critical area. Many people don't know that if you have original content, all right, it is not AI generated, but you have original content of your work, maybe a 1-page document, and you upload it to ChatGPT to make it 2 pages for you, that is possible. But note that when this happens, it means that your original content has become part of the memory of ChatGPT. What that means is that the tendency for this particular content to be generated, at least a part of it, or a line of it, or a whole of it somewhere in the world for another person who did a similar prompt is there. But many people don't know that this privacy exists. It could be a problem. So it's going to be very dangerous for maybe scholars who have a long-term goal of ensuring that their intellectual property belongs to them. And when the time comes, you notice during your promotion that something you generated, you use AI to simply use as a guide, has become a victim or a plagiarized document. So that's why it's always good to be very careful. Then disinformation too, we have talked about disinformation. People are talking about disinformation. But in Nigeria, for instance, in Africa, is very popular now. It's everywhere. All right. AI-aided disinformation is something that librarians have to write through research, how to educate their patrons to go against that. And the essence of this is for the betterment of our society. There's a video that is simply going to tell us how far disinformation is gradually wreaking havoc in Africa, maybe in Nigeria, as the case may be. You watch this video, 4-second video and 14-second video, and it's going to be very interesting. And you see her comments.
I saw it last week. Is it the same video you shared? The truth? It's not true. It's deep fake. It's there. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Now you are. Do we see the video, right?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Okay, great. So those who stay in Ikorodu have to tell us: do we have snow that is causing chaos in Ikorodu? So this is how far this anomaly has gone, and unfortunately, again, I just wish it was just a joke. But for you to say that has caused chaos in Ikorodu, people are not going to work, that is actually disinformation. It is not true. And this is many of them that I saw on Facebook. I just decided to say, and the caption is very interesting, that snow in Ikorodu. So I'm wondering why, if I'm not a Nigerian, I would have believed it. Somebody that is from maybe the US, or somebody that doesn't know more about Africa, that we don't really have to know, it could be a kind of disinformation to that person. So the question now is that where should we start?
So
where
please,
should we
you
start
have
in
1 minute
bringing
more.
sanity to a system?
You have 1
Okay,
minute
simply
more.
is that we need to ensure that we collaborate. There is need for reskilling, and there is always also need for expertise. People should go more train deeply so that we can resolve the barriers in Africa. If this is not done, we will keep on experiencing what the video I show now will keep on trending and will not have anything to do about it. The conclusion now is the need for intentional participation. All hands must be on deck. You may not be able to do it alone. Get more people who are even beyond library science, learn from them how to use AI to be effectively responsible without wreaking havoc in our system. The future studies I intend to continue working on is to empirically investigate the predominant areas of interest and impact of these professionals in African context so that we can be able to have our voices heard across and beyond Africa. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Scholar Raphael Ibifong. That has been a wonderful presentation on from clay tablet to artificial intelligence, opportunities for library and information professionals in Africa. So please, let's be noting our question as we'll call on the last presenter for this section, who will be presenting on the Nigerian National Archives and Historical Preservations, Perspective for Humanities Scholars by Eze, Eunice, and Nene. Do I get that right? And also co-presented by Olawale Oyewole, all the two from the University of Ibadan. You have your time now. Please, can you share?
Good afternoon once again. I'm back. And now for my paper.
Wait for connection.
Once. I go. On the athletics and humanities scholars. We really want to say that this is an ongoing process. As such, we are going to go to the field. So we thought it was actually clear to seek this contribution and for other countries in order to make when we post this come up with a very robust and better please I will appreciate this after the presentation. The National Archives was established
As a office with its permanent site in Ibadan. It was actually started from the University of Ibadan. And Professor Kenneth Onwuka Dike, the first Nigerian indigenous Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, was very instrumental to the establishment of the National Archives of Nigeria. Presently, the National Archives of Nigeria had its headquarters in Abuja, and it has 4 major branches. Ibadan, we serve the western part, and being the first, actually has more robust materials. Then we have the one in Enugu, which serve the eastern part of the country, and Kaduna, that one serves the northern part of the country, and most recently, the one in Maiduguri. Aside that, we have the other state branches of the National Archives. National Archives of Nigeria has the mandate to ensure proper acquisition and management of records created and maintained by public institutions within and outside Nigeria. And this mandate is very crucial to the societal development, as the National Archives